Hello, welcome to the meetup. It's just 10 o'clock, so we're just going to give everyone a second. Let me have a look. If you can, it would be lovely if you could just briefly say hi in the chat, and we're going to have introductions in a minute. Can I just confirm, do you all hear me okay? Hi, Hanera, how are you? Do you hear me okay, do you? All right, and we're just going to give it another minute and then we're gently going to start. Oh, okay, I mean, might as well slowly get started. It's 10 o'clock. So I would like to say welcome to a very Python Christmas. It's a collab between Codecademy Auckland and Codecademy Python. I will explain a little bit more in detail what series we have planned. For now, I would just like to say, well, thanks for joining. There might be some more attendees joining along the way. So let me just very slowly jump in. So for the first part of this session, we're just going to have some introductions. And what I would like to hear is maybe a name and maybe a fun fact about yourself and anything else that you're comfortable sharing. It doesn't have to be overly long. And then after that, we will look at input and output, just a couple of key concepts to have a foundation to start with. After that, there will be a code along. And really depends on what everyone is comfortable with. So we can use Codecademy workspaces, or you can use a code editor as well. And we're going to practice a couple of the key input and output concepts from the lecture through small sample code problems. And then we're going to wrap up towards the end. There will be a small Q&A just to check in if anybody has any questions. If you would like me to go over a certain thing, there will be a recap of what we looked at today to tie things up. There will be a preview of what's coming up next, since it's a series. Excuse me. And there will also be a chance to leave some feedback towards the end, and I will explain how to do that. Let me just check if there's anybody else joining. No. I don't know. We had a couple of people join and then they just left. So I'm not sure what's happening. We're just going to very, very slowly proceed. Maybe just give it one more minute and then we're going to move into introductions. Hanera, I've definitely seen your name around in the chats. Yeah, you have. Where are you joining from? What's the time where you are? Okay. Just had Owen join. Hi, Owen. How are you? Okay. All right. So, hello. So we're just going to move on to introductions. So just to introduce myself briefly. So my name is Laura and I've been here in Korea since 2015, so quite a while now, actually. And I enjoy coding mostly as a hobby. I'm not really looking to make it into a career, but I'm just enjoying it for what it is. And I have been hosting events on Codecademy since 2021, since when there was this old platform. And yeah, I sometimes have people messaging saying that, oh, you know, they would like to join a club or they would like to host a club even. And I would like to maybe, just as a side note, if you would like to host something yourself, if you'd like to be a club host, then that's absolutely something you can do. Back then, I knew less than I know now, even. And yeah, it's not a paid gig, but it's good for your CV, and you can have pro access. So if that's something that anyone's interested in, feel free to say hi. And I think there's also an option on Codecademy to join. Now, just to take a little break from just me talking all the time, I would like to also hear from you. I would like to have a moment for you to introduce yourselves, and if there's something interesting that you can share. And I will give you a couple of examples, maybe. So maybe you talk about what your funniest or your wildest coding mishap was. It can be something else. It doesn't have to be Python. So for example, one time I was hosting a meetup where I was using a Jupyter notebook in VS Code, and it was just supposed to run, and then it didn't. And I had a really lovely audience at the time, and what they recommended, and it worked, was to simply restart the kernel. And it kind of showed that old, have you tried turning it off again? It does work. That was my weirdest mishap, maybe. And then what was your weirdest error? And again, if it's something that's not Python, that's fine. So for example, what happened to me recently was I was applying a VLOOKUP formula in a Google Sheet to kind of grab a date and look at data from that day. And no matter what it did, it just would not recognize the date. It would just keep saying it's an error. And then finally, I figured out I actually had to format that date differently because it came from a different data source. And then lastly, maybe something that helps you in your routine or in your learning journey. If there's maybe something that helps you in your environment, kind of like if you've read Atomic Habits, something to make your habits stick better. And for me, for example, I like to have a flavored mint, and I like to have a sort of white noise log cabin soundtrack in the background that helps me focus. And I would just like to maybe hear from the rest of you. So and there's no particular order. Is there anybody who would like to go first, maybe? It can be in the chat. You can use your camera and mic. Hi, Danny. I've seen your name pop up as well. And then there's somebody else. Hello, Danny.
I can go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. For the first question, what was my funniest? So I'm still kind of I wouldn't say fairly new, but I don't think I've had as much of a coding experience to make one. But maybe I think from like classwork, I think there was a time that I was stuck on something, and it was just because I was using a float instead of an int, and I was like there for hours. But then I realized it was like that small mistake.
What was your name? Sorry.
My name is Oge.
Okay. Okay. Welcome. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you. And then my weirdest error.
I mean, you don't have to talk. You don't have to take all three. Just one is fine as well.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
But also I guess another language that I kind of know is MATLAB. But I think I know Python better than MATLAB, but I've dealt with MATLAB as well. And yeah. And then I think currently my cousins actually, and some of my siblings we made a group chat for coding, so we're using that to like support each other.
Oh, that's lovely. Okay, yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
All right. Is there somebody who would like to go next?
I might as well. It's Danny. And I'm talking. You're supposed to be sleeping.
Hi, Danny.
I'm gonna do it the third one because I haven't had much experience either to be able to have one of those. But my coding routine, definitely after this child is sleeping, which is why I'm on my phone and not the computer right now. And I do have a calming soundtrack that I listen to so that I don't get distracted by the street outside and everything else.
Makes sense. Thanks for sharing. Owen and Nero, would you like to share anything, or would you just like to stay quiet for the time being? You can type in the chat if you prefer. Oh, and Nero's saying, okay, you're using the Pomodoro technique. Yeah, I agree. I like that as well. Taking a break with music, yeah, you're on the ball, Hanera. Lovely. Okay, I think we're just ready to move on, to be honest. Now, okay, so for input and output, so generally, if you just have a little look at the images first on the left-hand side. So if you have a program and you want to personalize it, customize it in some way, you're going to need some kind of input. And I just took some examples from my own personal real-life experience. So for example, if I open up my booking.com, it has my image here, right? It has what currency I prefer. It has what language I prefer. It has my name up here. So the program doesn't know all that just by itself, right? So it's using input to gather that. And then the next one would be, so for example, any kind of chatbot like ChatGPT, whatever, is going to use input, right? So you're inputting data or questions into the program, and you can further customize it, right? So for example, you can add memories to it. You can have certain instructions, like how do you want ChatGPT to respond? And that is all done by input. And then if we just look at, for example, Codecademy, right? You can also input your data. There's billing information. You can link up your profiles, your GitHub, your LinkedIn. Or for example, if you look at the projects, there is an option. I don't know if you guys have seen that actually. There's an option for custom projects, right? So for example, you can choose the language. I think at the moment it's mostly Python. And then you can choose a topic and you can choose an industry. I'm not sure if fantasy is an industry, to be honest, but we'll just leave that for now. And then it creates a custom project. So all these things use input to personalize a program, to add information. So you can use it to add information also for gaming, for example. If you have a character, you want to give it a name, you want to give it a certain appearance, or for example, for data collection, for surveys, when there's a survey on the internet, or even for accessibility, right? So for example, let's say you are a vision impaired person, then the user input will be slightly different to what a regular person with regular vision would see. And it can also be used to simulate interactivity. So for example, any chatbot that you may see uses that. And then output can be printed to a program or a terminal in a human readable form. And we're going to look at these in a second. They can be formatted string literals. They can also be string format methods. Or you can take your output and you can write it to a file so it can be used in the future. So going back to, for example, our booking.com example, right? So I would imagine that somewhere behind the scenes, my input would be written to a file. So booking.com remembers, where was I staying last? How much did I pay? what level am I currently, what currency am I using currently? Okay, so let's have a look. So input, we literally use input and then some brackets with that. And the basic syntax, the way it works is you have a variable, and then you follow that with an equal sign, you assign it, and then you have input with some bracket, and then you have a little prompt. Okay, and an example of doing that, for example, if we're going the Christmas route, we could say, okay, your favorite Christmas gift equals input. Okay, what was your favorite gift to receive on Christmas when you were little? And when you run that code, what it does is it has this question here, and then I can enter something here. And for me personally, it was a piggy bank. Okay, and then you can have your output. We're going to talk about the formatting in a second. And my favorite was that variable that we have up here in curly brackets. And what it does, it prints my input to the console. And what you can also do in front of input, you can use qualifiers. For example, you can use int for if you want the user to input integer data, so like a number. You can also have float numbers. You can have strings. You can have Booleans, so true or false type of data. And if your user adds incorrect data, it will throw a value error. Now, let's have a look at formatted string literals for a second. So they're called F strings, which I thought, oh, that sounds a bit rude, but sorry, what you will need your statement, and then you have an F, then you have quotation marks, and then you have your expression in curly brackets. And you can also format that expression by using qualifiers. And we're going to look at that in a second as well. But for example, if we have here a variable and we say, okay, it's Python, we can say print to print it to the console. Put your brackets, put your F, put your quotation marks, and then your variable, and it'll return that variable. Let me just check if there's any questions in the chat. No. Would you like me to go over anything? Are there any questions so far? If you have questions, please put them in the chat. I'll try to keep an eye on it. Okay, so let's say we want to return our output in a certain format. We can do that as well. And these qualifiers, they need to be inside the curly brackets for our expression. There are several things we can do. I don't want to go into too much detail, otherwise it's going to be overwhelming, but just for you to have an awareness of, well, there are things that are possible that we can do with our output. It doesn't just have to be that output. Okay, so for example, you can use numeric formatting. You can use dates and times from the datetime module in Python. You can have aligning. You can have certain spacing. You can have different types of casing. So for example, lowercase or uppercase. You can combine expressions even if they're ideally the same type. And you can even have conditional logic. So if this is the case, if this is what the user inputs, then this will happen. And just to give you a brief example, let's say you have a variable which is called friends. I don't know, friends that you meet for Christmas, for example. And then you can, again, have your print statement, your F, your quotation marks, your curly brackets. And then let's say you want to print it in uppercase. You can do that. You can stay within the curly brackets. And when you run that code, what it will return will be friends, but in capital letters. Now, just to give you some examples to make it a little bit more easier to understand.
Sorry, do you mind going back to the last slide?
Yeah, definitely. Let me go back. This one. Or the one before.
Oh, this one.
This one.
So you said that there's different types of formatting, like there's the numeric. Is that what you said? I'm just trying to clarify.
Yeah, definitely. You can use numeric formatting.
Oh, what other formattings are there?
So, for example, you can have them spaced out. You can have them aligned in certain ways. You can have, for example, here we have uppercase letters.
Okay.
You can also, for example, you can add up expressions. So, for example, if you have input of a bunch of numbers, then you can say, okay, I would like to add up this expression from the user, and then this, and then this, and then this. Let me just show you what I mean by that. I think it sounds a bit abstract. Let's maybe just have a look at some examples. So let's say you would like to have some numerical formatting, and let's say you have the number pi. You have your math module, you import that, and then you want to return pi, and you want to only go to the last, you only want to have 3 numbers after the decimal. Then, for example, one thing you can do is you have a colon and a dot and a 3 and an F. I don't need you to remember that. I don't need you to know every qualifier in detail. What I'm just trying to achieve in this part is for you to know that when you have an output, you can do something with it. But you don't need to know every little thing in detail. And for example, if you say here, okay, I only want to have 3 numbers after the decimal, like here, what it will do is the value of pi is 3 point, and then it only gives 3 digits after the decimal. Let me maybe just one sec. I had a couple of notes. Let me maybe share something about the about user input and decimals in the chat. Just a sec. So if you want to look up user input on Codecademy, let me just put that in the chat. So that's more info from Codecademy's end. And I think there was, hold on, something about qualifiers. I made myself a little notion with the qualifiers, actually. Let me just bring that up as well, maybe. One second. What I like to do is when I have some new information, I like to put it in my Notion. Okay. Let me just, maybe that's something for you to have a look at after this if you really want to go in detail, but I don't want to overload everyone with too much information. Here we go. Okay. Let me just go back. Let me just share my presentation again. One sec. All right. Okay, so, and then for our next example for formatting input, sometimes you want to make sure that what the user is inputting is the right type of data. And what you can do is you can put a little qualifier in the front of input. So let's say, for example, you want your user to input numbers. So even numbers, you can put a little int in the front. And in the example that I've put here, let's say you have friends and family members that you want to buy Christmas gifts for. Let's say there are 9 people. And you want to find out, okay, so how many of your friends and family do you need to buy presents for? Or like, so, and then what the program will return is, so you have 9 people. And how many do you still need to buy presents for? Let's say you have 4 people left, okay? And then it'll say, okay, you have presents for 44.4% of the people in your friends and family. And there's a little bit of, again, some formatting. Here you have a percentage. So it says that you want to have one number after the decimal, and you want to have that formatted as a percentage. Okay, we can go back to any of that. I just want to move on for a second, and then if you want me to go into anything deeper, please let me know. Now, so there was f strings, and then there's also a method called string format method. And the way it works is you have your variable, let's say it's Christmas, you declare it, and then again you have your print statement, you have your quotation marks and your curly bracket, and you follow that up with format. And then again you have some brackets, and you follow that up with the variable that you want to format. Okay, example here, you print, this is your expression, and you want to format it, and that is your variable. And then if you run that code, it'll return Christmas. And like with the f strings, you can also format them. So for example, you can use uppercasing, you can use lowercasing. Okay, and to give you some examples for that kind of thing as well, let's say you have an event. In our case, it's a very Python Christmas, and you want to print a welcome message. You can say in your quotation marks, welcome to, quotation mark, curly brackets, quotation marks, and then you want to format this event, and you want to print it in uppercase, this whole message. And then if you run that code, what it does is it prints our welcome message with the event, and it does that all in uppercase and capital letters. And another option is, earlier on the earlier slide, I was talking about how you can also combine certain inputs. So for example, let's say you have 3 different inputs. You have parties that you want to attend with your friends for Christmas, and you have some for work, you have some for your family, and you always want to have your data input as a number, as an even number. And at the end of it, you want your program to add up these numbers. Then you can do that. For example, here for your friends, you want to have 2 dinners. For work, you will have to attend 1, and then with your family, you will have to attend 1 more party. And then what you do is, after format, you add up these, and then it'll add up these and it'll return. Okay, this year you will attend 4 social events for Christmas. Okay, let me just have a look at the chat. Is there anything you want me to go back to up until this point? Do you want me to go back to any slide? Do you want me to explain in a bit more detail?
Could you explain, like, I think you're staying on the surface level, but it seems like the dot format and the other one is called again.
The F string?
Yeah, the F. Yeah, it seems like they're very similar. I'm just trying to understand.
They're very similar. It really depends. You can just use whatever you like. Personally, I kind of like the F strings. I find them a bit more intuitive. But I think for some people, they prefer this method because it allows you to string together methods where it's more easily, where it's more, you can see more easily what you're doing. I think it's a matter of personal preference from what I gather. They do the same thing. It's absolutely true.
Thank you.
Welcome. I can see somebody else is joining called Saintly. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to check in with me, or would you like me to move on to the next slide?
So I have another question. So for the other example, when you said welcome to in the curly brackets, and then the format of the event is changing it to an uppercase, right? But then why is it changing the entire sentence? Like, why is it changing the welcome to uppercase as well? Instead of like, what's the other a very Python Christmas?
I think what it does, it applies it to the whole message. So here you have the message, and then you print the message, but then upper is applied to the whole bit. That's why it changes it to the whole sentence, from what I gather. Okay. So maybe another way to do this would be if you maybe if you maybe take two strings and then you apply the uppercasing to only your event expression. I think that could work.
Okay.
So you're asking if there's a way to separate the welcome to maybe in title, well, in small letters, and then the event in uppercase. Is that what you're saying?
Well, oh, yes and no. But like I was saying, I'm just trying to compare the example that you have at the bottom to the example you have on the top. And like the dot format, which is like adding the numbers. Yeah, which is adding the numbers. Is like for the bottom part, it seems like it's not affecting what's necessarily going up in the top part. I mean, sorry, what's happening in a sentence like this year, you'll be attending, and it's just inserting the value from the addition. But then it seems like in the top example, the format is not just inserting the event, but it's also changing the welcome to, which is different from what the bottom example is doing.
Not necessarily. So in the top part, you're basically applying. Okay, I take your point, but actually the bottom part is only adding up numbers. It's not changing any casings. It's not applying anything to the whole sentence.
Okay. So like if it's changing like the format of like the letters, then it's changing everything. But if it's like dealing with numbers, it's just inserting, right?
Yeah, because on these bits here, so friends Christmas, work Christmas, and family Christmas, the only input that's required is an integer each time. And so on the bottom, it only adds up the integers, but it doesn't actually change the message. It doesn't change the way it's printed to the console.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So I think if you would like to have different casings, I think what you can do is if you use string concatenations. So let's say, for example, you have one variable where you say first part of the message equals ding, ding, ding. And then you say second part of the message is your event, and then format event upper. And then you can say message 1 plus message 2 and print that to the console.
Okay.
That would work.
Okay.
Okay. Saint is saying, nice to meet you. You're very new to Python. Yep. Okay. Great. I think a lot of people here are new to Python, so that's good. Okay. Moving on. So one more thing that you can do, if you wish to save your data, you can also do that. So let's say, for example, you want to save your name and a certain gift. You say input your name, input your gift. And then what you can do is you can say with open, and then you declare a document. So for example, special gift.txt, and you have a little qualifier in quotation marks with a W as file, and W stands for write. So you're writing data to this file. You're making this file. You say file.write, dear name from up here. Your special gift this Christmas is this gift. Okay. And what it will do is, so first you will be prompted for your name. And let's say my name is Laura. And then the program will prompt you for your gift. It says, okay, maybe a book. And then this is now saved in your text, special gift.txt. And if you want to later go back to that information, what you can do is you can say with open special gift, you open a gift, okay, but punny. And here, instead of the W, you're using an R as file. R stands for read mode. And then you say content equals file.read. And then if you print that content, this is what it puts out. So my name is Laura. My gift is a book. And hello, Laura, your special gift this Christmas is a book. This is a little bit more advanced. And again, it's not something I need you to remember for this session. It's just, again, something for you to know, okay, if I want to save my input and if I want to be able to use it later, I can do that. That's fine. Okay. Anything you'd like to ask about that, or shall we just move on? Okay. If you have anything, please put it in the chat or let me know. Okay, so what I would like to now do is to move on to the code along. And there are several options for you. So for example, what you could do is you can use your own code editor if you have one set up. My personal preference is VS Code. Or if you just want to stay on the platform, you don't want to faff around too much, there is also the option to have a code editor experience in workspaces. So if you're on Codecademy and you go to your main page, it will have a little bit at the bottom called workspaces. It'll ask you what language. Okay, so for example, do you want Python? Do you want JavaScript? Whatever. In our case, it would be Python. Okay. And it'll create a code editor experience for you. Let me just add you. Hold on. I will just give you the link so you can set it up easily as well. Okay, like so. Oh, sorry, what's the wrong button? All right. So the first thing that I would like us to try is, can you try wishing yourself a Merry Christmas using input? If you like, you can use string formatting like upper or lower or title, and try printing your message to see your results and just to check that everything is working as it should. If you would like me to go back to a previous page, let me know and we can have a look. Let's give you maybe 2-3 minutes and then we can compare notes. Okay. Does anyone have anything they would like to share? I can also go first. Okay. Maybe I'll just give my example, and then maybe you can share anything you'd like to, well, that you're comfortable. Oh, sorry, anything that you're comfortable with. Wait, just one sec. Like so. I've got a very simple little message up here. Let me show you. It's literally one sentence. So let's say I've got this little script. So I've got here my name, that's my variable. And I'm using input, okay, what's your name? And then it will print, okay, Merry Christmas, my name. And let's try and see what happens. So what's my name? My name is Laura. Okay, Merry Christmas, Laura. That's all it does. Very simple. Let me just go back to you guys. Is there anybody who would like to share their solution?
I did the same thing.
You did the same, yeah. The rest is a bit shy, maybe. I'll give you a second.
So, just an observation, but when I sorry, my words. When I asked the question, what's your name? I didn't get any space between my feedback and the question, but I can see you have space in between.
I think I put a space. Let me just rerun that. I think it's literally just the spacing. Like I physically entered a space. Let's do that again. So let's say my name is Laura. Next slide. And then I don't leave any space. I just hit enter. Merry Christmas, Laura. And then there's no space up here. Is that what you meant?
No, I meant like in between the name question mark and Laura.
Okay. Yeah, we can run that again. So let's say I had a space after the question mark. So let's do that again. So what's my name? And then here there's no space, right? It goes right after the question mark. There's a cursor blinking. And then I say Laura. And then it says Merry Christmas, Laura. But it'll still output it correctly in the print statement because that's how I put it.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
If you want to add a space, remove a space, it's all completely up to you. The computer is stupid. It'll literally do what you're doing.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Thank you. And the next one is a little bit shorter, but maybe it's a little challenge. Okay, so number 2, I would like to find out, can you maybe try and debug this code? Can you see what's wrong with the code? And let's have a quick look how it looks like. Okay, so we have a print statement. So how many gifts do you need to wrap? And say, okay, total presents. Let's say you have 20 presents. Wow. Do not envy you. And you've already, you say you packed presents, input. How many presents have you packed? And then I want to calculate how many you still have to go. So remaining presents equals total presents minus the ones that you've already packed. And there are, ding, 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 remaining presents left to pack. And let's just try and run this code and let's see what happens. Oh, okay. Sorry, can you hold on one sec? Sorry, can you all see this one here? I think I was showing you the old tab still. Okay, so that's our second problem, is to debug. And let me go back here. let's say I have this code and I'm going to run it. And now what it does, it says, okay, file f string, and then it says there's something wrong over here. It says syntax error, invalid syntax. Can you maybe take a moment and tell me what's wrong with that code? You can put it in the chat or you can tell me orally.
I believe it's because you're not getting anything for remaining presence. Oh, wait, no, I just saw the rest of the code there. My apologies.
And no, it's true. There's something wrong with the remaining presence. What's wrong with it? It's actually several things wrong. I'll give you a second.
How much? Okay, so with the first line, it's a string. And then you're doing math with like numbers. So I'm guessing there's a mismatch. So maybe if you like hard code, if you hard code the number or the string as a number, that could help make sure that it's uniform maybe.
Yeah, so we can do that. Let's say we say int up here. It has to be an integer. Yeah, good point. Let's do that. Okay. Do you know what? What we're going to do is we're going to go line by line and we're going to see what's wrong with it. Okay, so let's just comment all of this stuff out here for a second. So let's say first line. How many gifts do you need to wrap? Error or no error? Is there anything wrong with that?
Is there not supposed to be an F there?
Let's go line by line, but this line is fine. Okay, this one's okay. So next one is total presence, and let's say we want to print total presence to see if there's anything wrong with it. Let's do that. Total presence, and the rest we just comment out. So total presence 20. And we want to print our total presence to see if there's anything wrong with them. No. 20 presents. Okay. Let's have a look. Next one. Let's check this statement here. Okay. Let's run this code. So how many gifts do you need to wrap? Okay. 20. How many presents have you packed? How many presents have we already packed? What do you think?
7.
Let's say 7. Let's do that. Okay. Looks okay, right? Okay. Now we want to find out, calculate remaining presents. Okay. And let's say we want to print the remaining presents.
All right. So I have a question. So if we didn't put the int there, would it actually produce a string? I just assumed that it would produce a string.
If you have your integer input and you put anything other than an integer, the program will throw an error. Let's try that maybe. Let's do that. So, how many gifts do you need to wrap? 20. How many presents have you packed? And let's say I want to say as an input 7. Let's see what happens. Boom. Okay. It says here, value error, invalid literal for integer with base. I don't know what's doing, but it's basically saying this is an error because you're giving the wrong input. But that's not a bug though. So let's try this again. Let's run again. So how many presents have you packed? I want to say 7. Okay. And then here, what is it saying here? Name error. Name packed present is not defined. What's wrong with that?
It's data. Total packed presents packed. You haven't declared packed presents. There's nothing to its name.
But what have we declared though?
Total presents.
Presents. Okay. So all we need to do is a little s, is a little typo, little spelling error. So let's do that again. So let's say we have 7 wrapped. Okay. And then it tells us remaining presents is 13. Is correct, right? So up until this line, everything is correct. And let's print this last one again. So let's have a look. Okay, and now it's saying it's syntax. It's giving us the same error that we had in the beginning. Syntax error, invalid syntax. What's wrong here?
With the curly braces, you only have 1.
Where should we put the curly brace?
At the end of remaining presents.
Let's try that again. Okay. Okay, I have packed 7 presents. And now it's running okay, right? That was the whole thing. We've debugged successfully. Okay. Okay, let's go back to the next problem. By the way, I just looking at the time now, I think we may go just a couple minutes in overtime. So if you're running out of time, and if you want to leave, that's completely fine, by the way. Okay, I don't want to dig into your time if you have something planned after this. Okay, number 3. So for this one, I would like you to try and create a sort of customizable poem beginning, kind of like Mad Libs. And I would like you to try to use input, and if you can, maybe a qualifier and some string formatting. And maybe just to give you an example to make it easier, maybe let me give you an example up here. Okay, so that is the problem. Number 3, create a customizable Christmas poem beginning with input, maybe using qualifiers if you can, and string formatting if you can. That's optional. And to give you something to riff off of. So I want to use an adjective and a noun and a verb. So it's a bit like Mad Libs. And then it has a little poem line at the end. Oh, adjective, noun, keep doing this throughout the winter. And then it outputs it at the end. So let's try that. Okay. Enter an adjective. Okay. Or let's say pale for our adjective. And then a noun, let's say winter sun. And then a verb, and then a gerund. So for example, eating, let's say, because it's the sun, I want to say shining. Put enter, and then here's my line from a poem. Oh, pale winter sun, keep shining throughout this winter. And I would like you to try and create this sort of ad-lib experience if you can. And I'll just give you a few moments to do that. And again, if you would like me to go back to a previous slide, if you would like me to show something, I can do that as well.
Sorry, it's not related to the question, but could you go back to the last slide that we did?
The last slide, yeah. This one?
No, with the write and the read.
This one.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Ooh. And I just noticed I have a little typo here as well. It should be for later, for later use. Shame on me. There you go. Okay. Can I go back to the last problem? Or are you still writing? Okay. All right. I'm just going to go on to the problem. Is there anybody who would like to share their custom problem? No. It's okay. Are you feeling a bit shy today, everyone? Still working on it? Okay. Let me maybe just bring it up as an option, just for your reference. So you can assign inputs over here. There are 3 different inputs. And then you have your F statement, you have your quotation marks, you have your expressions and curly brackets, curly braces. And then when you print it, it will print your whole poem with all these 3 inputs, like so. Okay. Just for the last problem, I realize we're a little bit out of time, and it may also be a tad too advanced. But I would just like to share it as a possibility anyway. So the last problem is maybe you want to calculate how many days are left until Christmas. And one way of doing that would be you import datetime. And let me just share a sample solution as well. So problem number 4, how many days are left till Christmas? Import datetime. And let me give you a sample solution for illustrative purposes. Okay. Okay, like so. So the first thing is we import datetime. You define today, and you define Christmas. Okay, so datetime, you use today's date. So datetime, and then in you have now as a method. Then you say Christmas, and you say datetime. Again, you use today, today's year, and as a qualifier, you add the month and the day. Then you want to calculate how many days are left. So you say Christmas minus today, and you want to have that in days. And then at the end, you want to know, okay, this and this many days are left until Christmas. So this one actually doesn't really use input, but it kind of uses your input as a variable. Let's see how that works. And if you run it, it says, okay, only 17 days left until Christmas. And from today, and let me just put that in the chat as well, assuming that Christmas is the 25th for you. Okay. Now, just to wrap up and to give you a moment to digest as well. So I would like to check in with you. Is there anything you would like me to go on, or maybe to go in a bit more detail? Is there anything you'd like me to go back to at all? No? If you can think of anything, do put it in the chat. Just to give a little recap for today. So we can use input, and it's useful because it allows us to add user info to be added into a program where we can then use it in contexts such as chatbots or gaming, or data analysis, data collection, like a survey. And when we store it as a variable, we can use it and to simulate interaction, and we can also input that format according to our requirements using string formatting. And I just wanted to go over what is coming up as well for other sessions. So today we already had this session. That's for today, input and output. And then the next session will be this Wednesday. It will be with William. It'll take place at around the same time, but it's of course a different time because he's in New Zealand, he's in Auckland. I will be doing lists and loops, same time, same day again next week. And then again on the Wednesday, it'll be William talking about functions. And then at the end of it, so just before Christmas, there will be a quick little pick your own adventure game, and it will have some of the concepts that we learned during this whole series. Even if you miss a session, it's okay. You can still attend. It's absolutely fine. You're not getting penalized for it. I had somebody the other day asking if they get punished for not attending if they RSVP but do not attend. No, that's not the case. Okay, you're not getting punished for it. And yeah, that's basically what it is. If you would like to add some feedback, I think at the end of each session, there is a little screen, and that feedback will go to Codecademy. So you can, I don't actually see that at all, but you can leave some feedback there. And if there is maybe something you would like to share with me personally, you can message me, or if there's something you would like to share with William as well. And there is a Google feedback form, and let me just pop that in the chat as well. If there is something that you want to tell me directly, like so. Here's the feedback form. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We are done for today. Apologies for going into overtime. Is there anything else anybody would like to share? I'll say.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. If everyone's okay, I would just like to say thanks for your time and your attention, and I hope you have a lovely weekend. Take care. Bye-bye. I'm going to finish this session now. Bye-bye.